Imagine you're going about your day, lost in the mundane rhythm of life. Suddenly, a flash. Not a thought you think, but a scene that happens to you, vivid, sharp, and undeniably real. A few hours later, the phone rings, and reality mirrors that flash exactly. Most people call this a coincidence because it's safer. But in the world of exceptional human experience, EHE, we call this a breach in the filter. It's the moment your consciousness stops being a prisoner of your five senses and becomes a receiver for a much larger field of information. In our previous exploration, we mapped the vast ocean of the unseen. Today, we step into its most enigmatic territory, ESP, extrasensory perception. We're going to look at this not as magic, but as a sophisticated biological and psychological interface. Think of the information field as a raw stream of data, a universal Wi-Fi. To make sense of it, your brain has to translate it into a language you already speak. It's not that one gift is better than the other. It's simply a matter of which monitor your mind turns on. First, there is clairvoyance, the visual monitor. This is where data becomes light. During the CIA's Project Stargate, researchers like Russell Targ found that viewers didn't just guess. They saw shapes, colors, and structures as if they were looking at a mental photograph. Then there is clairaudience, the frequency of sound. This is often the most urgent channel. It's the inner voice that shouts stop a second before an accident. It's not an auditory hallucination. It's a translation of a survival signal into a form you cannot ignore. And finally, the most mysterious of all, claircognizance, direct data download. No images, no whispers, just an absolute, unshakable knowing. This is the closest we get to what quantum physics calls non-locality. The idea that you don't need to travel to the information because, at a fundamental level, you are already connected to it. For most of us, these channels open only during a crisis or a deep emotional connection. But there are those who live with the volume turned up indefinitely. Psychologist Ernest Hartmann spent decades studying what he called people with thin boundaries. To these individuals, the wall between self and world isn't made of brick, it's made of gauze. They are the human antennas. Living this way isn't a superpower, it's a profound psychological challenge. Imagine walking into a room and being hit by a wave of conflict that happened there 3 days ago. Or knowing the hidden grief of a stranger in the grocery store. Because their filter, what Henri Bergson called the reducing valve of the brain, is naturally porous, they're constantly bombarded by the psychic noise of the world. The secret of these high scorers isn't just that they perceive more, it's that they have mastered the art of discernment. They have learned to distinguish the signal from the analytical overlay. The mind's desperate attempt to invent a story to explain a raw intuition. So, how can you tell if you've genuinely caught a signal or if you're simply daydreaming? True extrasensory perception, ESP, leaves a distinctive footprint that your imagination cannot replicate. Here are 5 somatic markers to help you distinguish between the two. The hyperreal flash. Imagination is a process of creation. ESP is an arrival event, characterized by a moment of realization or clarity that comes suddenly. The image associated with this event is often high definition compared to ordinary thoughts, providing an insight or perception that feels vivid and distinct. The somatic stamp. Neurobiologist Antonio Damasio spoke of somatic markers, the body's way of flagging importance. A true ESP signal is often accompanied by a physical jolt, chills, a sudden warmth, or a specific sensation in the solar plexus. Your body recognizes the truth before your mind can doubt it. Emotional stillness. This is the ultimate test. Fantasies are fueled by desire or fear. Authentic ESP, however, is strangely neutral. It's a dry fact. If you're desperate for it to be true, it probably isn't. The quantum leap. There is no logical ladder. You didn't think your way from A to B. You simply woke up at B. Monolithic persistence. You can change a daydream. You cannot change knowing. An authentic signal remains identical even if you try to push it away. It has the quality of an objective object inside your subjective mind. We often ask, how can I develop this? But perhaps the better question is, why am I blocking it? Developing ESP is not about chasing magic. It is a journey toward radical self-honesty. Our filters are often built from fear, not just the fear of the unknown, but the fear of what we might discover if we truly start to perceive. To thin these filters, we don't need rituals. We need the courage to look at our inner resistance. Resistance is the wall. Awareness is what makes it crumble. If you want to begin tuning your receiver, it starts with 3 essential shifts. The space of silence. This isn't about a timed exercise. It's about learning to be comfortable in the void without the constant noise of gadgets or thoughts. It is only in this stillness that you can begin to distinguish your own mental chatter from a true signal. You are learning to hear your own baseline. The practice of attention. Think of this as documenting the impossible. When you pay attention to a small coincidence or a sudden flash and write it down, you are validating that experience. You are telling your subconscious, I am ready to see this. By giving these moments a place in your reality, you invite them to happen more often. Somatic connection. Your body is the antenna. Most of us are disconnected from our physical selves, which is why we miss the signals. Strengthening the bond with your body, learning to feel its subtle shifts and reactions, is how you start to recognize the stamp of truth before your mind can doubt it. The more transparent you are with yourself, the more transparent the world becomes to you. It is a slow, beautiful process of becoming a clearer vessel for the information that is already all around us. Thank you for exploring the depths of the unseen with me today. Trust what you feel and stay curious.